This is the face of a man who knows his team is in big trouble. His analyst next to him knows it too, and it's only the 16th minute of the match. Yes, PSG put on a pressing masterclass, but how exactly did Luis Enrique masterclass this match? And has he boldly changed football forever? Let's take a look. PSG lined up in a 4-3-3 on paper, but as always, their build-up shape was far more fluid. Typically, they drop into a back three, with Mendes, Pacho, and Marquinhos at the base, while Hakimi pushes forward to join the attack. Vitinha usually operates as the deepest midfielder, acting as a deep-lying playmaker, facilitating progression out of the back. But here's where things get interesting. In an interview just before the match, Vitinha confirmed that Enrique has completely changed his approach this season. Last year, PSG were rigid and positional. Enrique was very specific about which zones to occupy. That's nothing new. Many of Europe's top teams, historically, have been extremely positional, with Guardiola as the leading figure. Vitinha explained that this season, Enrique has allowed for more rotations and freedom in positioning. But what does that actually mean? Arteta once said that Arsenal used over 43 different build-up structures in a single match. So how do players adapt to that much variability? The key is understanding the 5 vertical attacking lanes on the pitch. PSG players are allowed to rotate freely, as long as all 5 lanes are occupied. To keep this organized, Enrique uses this concept of anchors, pinners, and floaters, light positional roles that guide how players move within the structure. Anchors, players who form the base of the build-up. Pivot, one player, the connector, usually Vitinha. Pinners, wide players holding width, in this match, Kvaratskhelia, and often Hakimi or Doué. And floaters, free players rotating to find the ball, and create numerical overloads. Now let's look at how PSG manipulated the structure to dismantle Inter Milan. In the first clip here, this is only 5 minutes to the match and we already see the rotations with the 3-1 structure, as it's formed by Pacho, Marquinhos, Mendes, and Vitinha. But shortly after, Mendes rotates out and Vitinha seemingly rotates in, and now all 5 attacking lanes are occupied with Hakimi on the far right, and the pivot center mid is now João Neves. Just 30 seconds later, here is PSG in the same 3-1, but now it's Vitinha, Pacho, Marquinhos, and Neves as the pivot. Kvaratskhelia and Hakimi act as the wide pinners. Now let's talk about the floaters, the free-flowing players. Here you see Dembele coming inside, Ruiz is now coming to the central lane, Doué stretching to the right lane, and all the way at the top is Mendes in the left half space. Again, all 5 lanes are occupied, counting Kvaratskhelia at the very top. This organized free-flowing structure allowed PSG to seamlessly move the ball, but also not allowing Inter to key in on any one player, as Inter Milan defensively have relied on man-to-man marking and defending compact, which was difficult when so many players were occupying different spaces at different times. Another clear example is here as Dembele drops in, and we can see Ruiz move forward to occupy the central lane again. It's a deliberate move. Later on, we can see Ruiz realize he needs to attack the higher central lane, with Dembele still dropped in and makes a forward run. So now let's talk about Inter Milan, in particular DiMarco, who PSG clearly targeted, maybe not because of his defensive abilities, but because of the profile player they have in Hakimi, who's extremely versatile and is able to be involved in all parts of the build-up phase. DiMarco and Inter had a particular focus on Hakimi this match, as he has been influential for this PSG side. Hakimi gets forward often, and it was clear that DiMarco's job was to take care of him, except this is where Inter got it totally wrong. Inter's defensive game plan was extremely predictable, rigid, and man-oriented, as they typically make sure they are matched up, and their defensive effectiveness has never been about the complexity, but the execution. The 2 strikers, Thuram and Martinez, were responsible for dealing with PSG's build structure, and mainly just shifted side to side to prevent central progression. To try to prevent Vitinha from influencing the game, Barella or Mkhitaryan would jump to assist depending on where the ball was, and this was fine as Inter's 3-man midfield were matched up against PSG's 3. Where Inter knew would be difficult would be the PSG right side, as Hakimi likes to get forward and overload with Doué. So Bastoni and DiMarco knew they had to be very disciplined on Hakimi and Doué throughout the match. As we showed earlier, PSG built in the 3-1 structure but rotated players throughout. And because there was such low pressure from Inter on PSG's structure, PSG were able to rotate players in their build at will, consistently rotating Hakimi and Mendes as the extra player on the flanks. Inter had a completely wrong read on PSG when Hakimi rotated into the 3-1 structure and Mendes would push up, because DiMarco would follow him all the way up the pitch, and this would leave Bastoni isolated 1v1 on the wing, not only an area where he is uncomfortable but also vacating a huge space behind him. Here we can see in the game, as Hakimi rotates into the 3-1 structure, causing complete confusion for DiMarco as he would press up, only then to leave whoever was on the PSG right wing isolated, forcing Bastoni to step up and leaving a huge gap in the back line, which Inzaghi here points out is a huge problem. Ruiz comes in and asks for the ball, as his job is to get the ball into that space, in which Doué takes full advantage of. PSG consistently tried to pull out Inter's 3 center backs and confuse them, stretch them, and then exploit the space they left behind. Hakimi was flowing through all phases of the build-up, and as here he's involved once again in the initial phase, then moves into an attacking area. It was clear that Inter had absolutely no clue how to take care of him, as PSG consistently rotated through the players to form the 3-1 structure. Then in the 10th minute, here is when things start to really turn for the worse for Inter. Doué checks in, and Bastoni comes to meet him, a clear assignment to mark him. What he doesn't see immediately is Dembele shifts wide to occupy the space Doué comes from, and this leaves a huge space centrally. DiMarco only cares about where Hakimi is. Doué recognizes this and makes a forward run immediately, but now PSG rotate their 3-1 shape again, and all of a sudden, Hakimi is now part of the 3-1 structure. DiMarco has no clue and steps up to Hakimi, which then leaves Dembele 1v1. You can even see Nuno Mendes recognize this and rotate out of the 3-1 structure as he's the free player. It's at this point where there's confusion between Bastoni and DiMarco, and Bastoni basically tells him to leave Hakimi, as Bastoni believes Hakimi's only role is to be part of the 3-1 build structure at this point in the game. As you can tell, it's complete disarray from Bastoni and DiMarco. They have no clue what to do, as the last 10 minutes they've seen Doué, Hakimi, Dembele, and even Ruiz on their side. We really have to understand from a player's perspective how difficult this is, as this is happening all in their line of vision, in real time, at real speed. They don't have the luxury of our vantage point, watching from a TV, or playing each phase of the game. So this is only 1 minute after, immediately after Bastoni and DiMarco have the conversation about what role Hakimi is playing. So now, PSG are in their 3-1 structure, but this time with Mendes, which now allows Hakimi to be the extra player. So it's really confusing for the Inter wingbacks, especially DiMarco, as he really has to only worry about Hakimi when he doesn't have the ball. So it's at this point that DiMarco realizes that in fact, Hakimi is a problem and pushing up. You can tell Bastoni has no clue, and he believes Hakimi is not involved in the attack. And Bastoni gets it completely wrong, as DiMarco now has 2 on him and the first goal makes way. So what Enrique and PSG demonstrated wasn't just dominance, it was a blueprint for how to dismantle rigid, man-oriented defenses using organized positional freedom. By allowing players to rotate fluidly within a flexible structure, PSG didn't just beat Inter, they broke them mentally and structurally. Is this the beginning of the end for man-to-man defending at the elite level? And will we start to see more teams adopt these fluid, free-flowing positional rotations? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and thanks for watching.